But okay, so we're gonna chop it up.
Yeah.
So today, we're just gonna talk a little bit about education.
Yeah.
Is education still relevant in our current society? I mean, we could define education to be so many different things. But when we talk about the actual infrastructure of education through a streamlined sort of standard model of going to school, is that education serving us and preparing us for the world that we're actually stepping into in this day and age? That's today's question on the Chop It Up. What do you think about that?
I think I genuinely believe the old sort of way of education is going to become obsolete at some point down the line, because the evidence is sort of supporting a different educational base system where the apprenticeship, sponsorship, internship, these things that are more sort of practical based. So I think as technology advances and the way we sort of consume things and what you call it steps up as well and changes, as human beings we will adapt to it. I think the old way of going to lectures and having a professor or a teacher teach you, that old system, I think is still relevant now.
Is it though?
I think it's still,
because if you look at statistics of how many university graduates do careers based upon what they studied in university, the statistics are not heavily in favor of that.
That is true.
Because so therefore, is it serving us now? Because a lot of these graduates come out and think, actually, I did 4 years doing that, but actually I want to pick up this vocational skill. I want to teach myself how to do this. I want to pick up this course here to do this thing that I'm actually passionate about.
But so that's also education though.
Yeah, of course. But that's why the question is, because that's not a conventional educational route. Yeah. You didn't need to go to university to pick up that vocation. Yeah. That vocation is, because education, for me, can never be obsolete, because we need to...
As a human, as a species, we're always learning.
But it's about what form of education, one, is deemed the more socially desirable form of education.
Because I think, like, growing up as ethnic kids, you kind of preach to do
doctor,
a few things.
Lawyer, medicine, engineer.
That's it.
Something along those lines. Yeah. If it's not any of those, your parents ain't having it.
You're not going to school. Basically.
Art, what the hell is that?
What are you doing? You drawing. What
exactly.
Is that? What are you gonna be when you grow up? So
and if you look at the higher grossing careers in the past 10, 20 years have been completely creative career paths. Yeah. But the school system does not teach you that, or does not champion that as equally as reputable as someone who's doing STEM subjects. Yeah. Which is the science, technology,
business,
science, maths and English and all these other subjects. So therefore, the question is, is it high time that those archaic models of education and the prestige attached to that is dismantled, because is that serving us as a society? Our kids growing up and thinking, I could actually be an entrepreneur and start this brand or this business by my own passions, and learning and picking up skills specifically to that, because you can't do that in school. Yeah. In school, you have to go to careers advisors who don't even have any idea of what these creative industries are, because school is not gearing you towards that. They just want you to be able to, because the whole idea of school in the first place was to teach you how to come out and work in the industries. Yeah. To come out and to be obedient, how to follow rules, how to become part of this bigger obedient society. Yeah. Now we have moved away from that, because there's not many industries. People not coming out of school to go and work in factories anymore. People are going out of school, if they do go at all, just to find ways to be innovative, to think of newer ways to do something that's already been done already. So they're having to think critically. So it's about the part of the brain that actually the school does not respect as much, which is the right side of the brain, which is the bit where it's not logical, it's more about the creative side of your brain.
That's so hard to teach as well.
Right. So that therefore teachers or the school system is kind of built to somewhat suppress that side and herald the more logical side, because that's the side that is more
Easy to
quantitative.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the side that's easy to mark and give people scores and tell this person, oh, you're better than this person in that way. Whereas creativity is like this big minefield that no one really, you know, a child could be more creative than a teacher.
Yeah.
So it just creates this huge issue because the teacher
it's very abstract as well.
Right,
so how
right.
do you quantify
so
that?
exactly, and the teacher wants to be able to say, you know, that's actually wrong.
Yeah.
because I'm the one marking it. Whereas
and I've got a textbook of
exactly,
how I need to mark
exactly.
it. Yeah.
Whereas creativity is very difficult
Yeah.
for you to do that. So that's why I just find it really, you know, a very topical issue with just the way that, you know, education is being reformed and all these ideas about what ways to kind of, you know, reform certain educational models and you know, with the rise of like certain things like, you know, LeBron James, he just started his own I Promise school and the model is so interesting and so different.
That's a very, very interesting model. I think let's not underestimate also the fact that as a society, we need to change our approach on how we encourage our kids as well, right? Because half of these kids, like you're saying, goes to higher education, comes out, and you realize actually they don't want to do what they went in for. What is that? It's not really the education that is actually failing them. It's society, and from an individual standpoint, they've been failed as well. And by that, what I mean is, if my parents are gonna push me to go do something that I'm not happy about, and I go in there and I'm actually a success at that, and I come out and I realize I don't want it, it's not really the education itself, it's also the personal choices that we make to go in there to actually, when we actually know we actually do not like what we're actually going to study, right? So it's that thing of, it's sort of like a treadmill. We kind of born, you go college, and then you kind of, the next thing is I gotta go uni, right? So, okay, let me go into uni and then let me see what I can do there. So it's almost like we get into this machine and it just steers us and we blindly just go through the motions, right? And then after we actually realize, oh shoot, it's taking us to a destination that we didn't want to be. So it's also a thing of, we need to start being more accountable of what the choices we make and not just blindly follow the machine as it steers us through a pathway.
Yes, I agree with that in a utopia, but the point is, yes, we need to take accountability, but also as a society, it's because of the value that's placed upon that. So if that never changes, there would still be those individual nuances that are based upon you having to go there to be able to achieve these same values.
Sure.
Because as a society is heralded that if you come out of Cambridge or Oxford or Harvard, then you are much more desirable to the society. So if that never changes, the first thing will never change because your parents will still want you to go through that to be able to be attached to that value. So that's the only place where that value is attached to what you've achieved. There's no same value that's attached to someone who went through a vocational route and is able to start their own business. You know, so until the society's mindset changes, the infrastructure of education as well.
It's still gonna be there.
Exactly. So that's why, you know, it's such an interesting
very interesting
conversation to have.
I think it's slowly changing because now we're becoming more aware because of the Silicon Valley and all of these big
billion-dollar industries.
We're slowly understanding the traditional route doesn't automatically make you money anymore. And there are so many other routes to take to get there now, right? So think about it. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, if you told your parent, I just want to be a footballer, your parent would have probably disowned you. They would have said, go to school. Maybe if you got 5 minutes of your own free time, you've done your homework later, you could go play football. But now we're slowly realizing, okay, that is also an avenue you could take. You might not be a Premiership player, but you could still play the Championship and you could still be okay. Do you know what I mean? So you are definitely right in the fact that the more we become aware of the other avenues and the more society's perceptions change on how to get to these avenues, we become more easy to adapt to what you call it, the non-traditional way of learning and actually go on through other routes because we've seen examples of success through the other routes. But we need to see those examples to actually be more susceptible to taking them in a way.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I also, we cannot talk about this without talking about the socioeconomic context that drives the mentality, especially of a lot of ethnic parents. Because I am not blind to the idea that I know the reason why my parents wanted me to study medicine or study something as secure as that. Because they know what they had to go through in this country. So therefore, they didn't want me to go through the same thing. So to them, the idea of being an artist, there was moments where I was, I guess for lack of a better word, disowned, you know, because they didn't understand why I was going waywardly trying to pursue something creative. It's like I'm throwing my life away.
Literally.
You know,
that will literally say that to you.
Yeah, absolutely. They did. Numerous times.
You're throwing your life away.
Absolutely.
All this education and you know.
Exactly. So therefore, I had to be someone who is strong-willed to understand that this is what I really want to do, irrespective of your approval or not. And that's not ever an easy journey to be on.
So as an ethnic kid, that's
absolutely
one of the toughest things you can ever do. Go against your parents.
Absolutely.
Who are these like gods in a way.
Exactly. But because I know I'm one of the few that I've had the resilience to come onto the other side, and now they see the reason. They'd be like, wow, like you're actually living a life based on this. And they are now educated. So now if I have a younger brother that wants to do similar pathway, they could see, as you said, an example of how that could. Prior to that, they just had no reference point. They couldn't fathom that.
And,
you know,
and they're coming from a standpoint of we want to do good by our kids.
Exactly.
So it's amazing how they're not saying that they're not doing all the things they were doing to be, from that standpoint, to bring you down. Therefore, they were helping you because from that standpoint, that was the only way.
Right.
Because they had not seen anything else, right? So from that standpoint, that was the only way to success.
Right.
Nothing else was going to work. In that
Absolutely.
standpoint. We unfortunately have experienced otherwise.
Right.
And as you said, now you've given them a reference point where they can go, okay, Kay did that. Yeah, that's doable now. The next one is going to have it a little bit easier.
Right.
The one after that is going to have it slightly easier.
Exactly.
And then also on and on and on it goes.
And then finally, this narrative that, you know, the reason for education is to be able to have money and have a life of luxury and security. That is one that I think is one of the reasons why as a society it's difficult for us to attain higher levels of happiness, because we are trained to go into education. That's why a lot of people go into university doing what they think is going to make them money and more secure. And that's not generally what is going to bring them happiness or what they're going to enjoy waking up every morning to go to school to do. That's why when I travel and go to other countries that have like 3 working day weeks, it's incredible just to see the shift in the society's energy and the vibe. You know, because their world is not totally geared towards just working, making money. It's about trying to attain a level of a standard of living that is full of happiness and contentment.
They tend to have an awful economy though.
I mean, in what way though? Well, in terms of financially.
Yeah. So it's
but who cares about that if they have a happy life, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Because we have a more a more stable economy, but there are so much higher levels of mental health and
of course
lots of other issues. So you know,
it's one or the other, right? So no, you're definitely right. At the end of the day, what is gonna make you happy? Because you are 100% right. You got loads of people, and I'm sure you got millions and millions of people that have got a good living and are very unhappy because they wake up in the morning and they dislike what they do. That
Monday
makes them
morning
so
is like
much.
it's like the worst day of their life.
And yet they make tons of money.
Absolutely.
But what makes them that tons of money? They dislike with every fiber of their being.
Absolutely.
So they wake up in the morning and go, oh, I really do not want to do this. Go through, and by the time you blink, it's 30 years, 40 years, and you've been doing this job that you absolutely dislike. You're so unhappy, but you got money in the bank.
Right.
Is that worth all of that years of unhappiness?
Right.
And then, like you said, you might have someone that work a 3-day week, have a little house somewhere, got a nice family, doesn't need a lot. Do you know what I mean? All he needs is the basic things, and they are the most happiest people in the world.
Right.
And it's all about how do we tweak our mindset to go. I'm not gonna, because a lot of the time we follow this machine, don't we? We grow up, we listen to our parents say, and we follow this almost predestined path that's in front of us, and we just blindly follow it, and we get to uni. I just want to do this because I've heard it makes your life secure. And do we want to be secure, or do we want to go the random route where there's going to be chaos in there, but outside that chaos is ultimate fulfillment?
Happiness, absolutely.
So it's that investment, isn't it?
Exactly. And then just kind of lastly, in that, the way that the structure of the educational system is, by default, it fails a lot of other types of young people.
Yeah.
And those are the young people who have the creative thinking. They're the ones who have the creative desires in this larger than life
society.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And therefore they fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
And God forbid, they're the ones that get picked up by all these other ills of the society. And then they end up in the criminal justice system. So therefore, looking at the fact that this streamlined societal educational narrative is one that really disfavors a huge minority group of young people who think in a completely different way to the ones who the education system benefits. The ones who end up being the prime ministers and things like that are the ones who just learn how to follow a particular lane, regurgitate information, pass all the exams with the highest scores, not the kids that ask the questions.
And we know how they do when they become prime ministers.
Right. It's not the ones that ask the teacher the questions and says, Miss, why is that the case? Actually, I have a different thought. Detention for you. How dare you challenge my authority? So it's really interesting to be able to look at that as a grand, macro visual of how the education system actually is designed in our society and how that disaffects particular groups of young people. And actually think about...
You hit a big nail on the head, because I've got a massive issue with that. I've naturally been very, very... I've always been book smart, right? But I've always understood that to be not book smart doesn't mean you're clever.
Right.
That don't mean you're not clever.
You're not
clever. It actually just means that it's not your forte.
Right.
It's the same as I had cousins, right, that would literally, with no prior knowledge, can dismantle a computer and put it back together. And it's just by feel. I would never be able to do that, right? But I would be able to consume a whole book and regurgitate it. So does that mean I'm clever than the other person? Or are they more clever than I am because they can practically do something that I could not do? So the idea of trying to fit a circle in a square, it just makes no sense to me. Treat a square, treat a circle, a circle.
Right.
And I appreciate the fact that the square is a square and a circle. It's almost like a lion looking at a human being, right, and going, that human being is dumb because he cannot chase a deer on 4 foot and catch it, right? And a human being going, that lion, well, it's a star species because it cannot build a rifle. A lion is built for what a lion is supposed to be built for. A human being, we built for what we're supposed to be built for. And we need to treat each other the same way and not try to make us fit one mold. If you're trying to make everyone fit one mold, about 50% of people are going to fall out of the wayside because 50% of people are not going to be able to fit that mold. It's as simple as. And for a higher learning to think that is the right way to do things, at that part, I have a huge problem with.